Kakadosh, Boker Tov, Kav Gimel Amud Aleph, Masechet Yoma, 23a1. We were just finishing by saying yesterday, the remember Rabbi Yochanan Meshubim Shimon ben Tzadak says Rabbi Yochanan name Rabbi Shimon ben Tzadak, Kol Talmid Chacham she'eno nokem venoter kenachash, any Talmid Chacham that he doesn't take vengeance, doesn't do nekama and netira. Remember, nekama is revenge. Netira is that he keeps it in his heart. Okay, that's the difference between nekama and netira. Kenachash, like a snake, is not a Talmid Chacham. So says the Gemara, I don't understand you. It's written, Lo tikom velo titor. You're not allowed to take revenge. So how could you tell me that a Talmid Chacham that does not take revenge, he's not a Talmid? He cannot do it. What do you want? Answers the Gemara, there, when it says the concept of nekima v'netira, revenge. Remember, nekama means is that I'm going to ask you to use, let's say, a hammer, and you tell me no, and then you come to me for the hammer. So nekama is that I'm going to say I'm not going to lend you my saw. Why? You didn't lend me the hammer. That's called nekama, revenge. What is netira? I come and I say I'm going to lend you the saw, but not like you didn't lend me. That's called netira. That's shomer balev. Remember, noter is lishmor. Netira is shmira. I'm watching it in my heart. Nokem is nekama, vengeance, revenge. So he says that is to do with money. The Tanya, as we learned in the Braita, what is considered nekama and what is considered netira? Nekima, what is revenge? Amarlo, he comes and he tells him, go lend me your magal. Magal is like, I think in English it's a hoe. H-O, yeah, the round thing. It's called hoe in English. Jean-Paul? Alush? A hoe in English or not? The magal.
I'm here. I didn't open the book yet.
Okay, I think it's a hoe. H-O-E, I think. Yeah, it's a round thing that they used to reap. Yeah? The wheat, to reap. Amarlo, he comes and he says, love, no. Lemachar, the next day, Amarlo, he tells him, let me your hammer. Amarlo, any mashilcha keder shelo yishaltani, zoi nekima. I'm not going to lend it to you just like you didn't lend it to me. That's nekama. What is netira? Amarlo, he tells him, let me the hammer. Amarlo, he said, no. Lemachar, the next day he comes and he tells him, give me your chaluk, give me your clothing, right? Let me something. Amarlo, he says, helach, here it is. Any kamutcha, I'm not like you. Shelo yishaltani, that you didn't lend it to me. So that's netira. Meaning, the nikama is, you didn't lend me, I'm not going to lend you. Tit for tat. You didn't do this, I'm not going to do that. That's called nikama, revenge. What is netira? I'm going to lend it to you, but I'm going to put it in your face. I'm going to say, what? I'm not going to be like you. This is what you're doing? That's called netira. So says the Gemara, 1 second, you're going to tell me that it only has to do with money? That's what you're telling me? That means this entire concept of revenge or netira is only with money? V'tzara de gufa lo, but not anything to do with the body? But Tanya, we learned in the Braita, hane'elavin ve'enam olevin. People that are embarrassed by other people, but they do not embarrass back. Shomin cherpatan ve'en meshivin. They listen to their disgrace and they do not answer. Osin me'ahava, they do the will of Hashem from love. Usmechim b'yisurin, and they are happy with sufferings. Aleema katuv omer, on this, the pasuk says, that the ones love HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to be out, right? So he comes and he says that, think about it, that it's going to be mamash like the sun, that it's coming and giving out all its, it's raining out. So he says, Leolam, tenaki lebili bei. He says, no, really, the kavanah of Rabbi Shimon ben Tzadak is that any Talmid Chacham, which is machzik v'shomer davar belibo, and he's not moche, right? So he says, but the Talmid Chacham does not have to do it himself. Yeah, that means the Talmid Chacham himself, right? En Talmid Chacham meshiv be'atzmo lapogim bo. It should be done by other people, right? Which means that it should be done by other people, meaning other people have to come and to fight. But it has to be done by other people, not by the Talmid Chacham. The Talmid Chacham is going to keep quiet, but the other people are going to come and going to be doing it. Okay? Ve'amar Rava says, he says, 1 second, how could that be? Right? I thought that you're supposed to be mevater, which means you're supposed to selkear, to forgo, right? Which means somebody does something to you, that's it, you just forgive. So answers the Gemara, no, he says that's only when they come and they actually have peace. Meaning, if they're not going to appease him, he has to be nokem v'noter kenachash. But if they appease him, now he's going to be mavira miyutav. He's going to forgive very easily.
No, this is exactly what Yosef did not do.
So now it says in the Gemara, umahen motzin. We're going back to the two dots where we're speaking about that they're going to take out whether it's, a finger or 2 fingers, and then we said that you don't take out the thumb. Yeah. So says the Gemara, hashta shtaim motzin echad mibai. If you're allowed to take out 2 fingers, why is it written anything to do with 1 finger? Right? Obviously, if you could take out 2, you could take out 1. So Amar Rav Chasta says Rav Chasta, la kashya, it's not a question. Kam bebari, kam bechole. When it says 1, right, we're talking about a kohen bari, he should only take out 1 finger. When we're talking about, it means a healthy kohen. When we're talking about a chole, he could take out 2 fingers. Why? Because basically, since he's sick, he can't control the fingers. So therefore, automatically, when he's doing it, he's taking out 2. So like a lot of people, for example, try to take out these 2 fingers. It's impossible. It's very difficult. You have to, like mamash, you have to, but if I'm going to tell you, take it out, you understand? It's difficult. Certain fingers and also just the nature. But again, we're not talking about that you're taking out the thumb. You cannot use the thumb. So you're only taking out the other fingers. So if you're taking out 1 finger, it's easy. Taking out 2 fingers, it's easy to do like that, right? But if you're going to do, understand, or like, but it becomes difficult. Try to take out only the 2 middle ones. It's difficult. Each one, right? But what he's saying is the kohen is a chole. So since he's chole, he cannot be sholet. He cannot control properly the fingers. So he can't take out 1 finger without taking out the 2nd finger with it. Okay? So says the Gemara, 1 second. Yeah, what does this mean? But Tanya, we learned in the Braita, mi'ikaradin achat motzin. They only take out 1. The shtaimen motzin. When one of these words, bibari, if he's healthy. But a chole, so he's allowed to take out 2. Vayechidin, now people that are by themselves, motzin shtaim. Then monin lahem, but we're not going to count them, those 2 fingers. El achat, only 1. So says the Gemara, then monin lo el achat. You're going to tell me you're only going to count 1 finger? Saying if the guy already took out 2 fingers, you're only going to count 1 finger? But Tanya, we learned in the Braita, en motzin lo shalosh, lo shalish, velo gudal. You're not allowed to take out the 3rd finger, which is the middle finger, neither the gudal. Why not? Because of the tricksters, right? The ones that they deceive people. Okay? Now why? Because basically what happens is that they stick out extra fingers or they do different things in order to destroy the count. So he says now, v'imotzi shalish, if he does take out the 3rd finger, yeah, he says, moninlo, we do count it. But the gudal, we don't count it. V'lo od, and not only that, ela shloke min ha'memune bepakia. We're going to come and he's going to give him a makot. Which means, imagine, a guy comes out and he stuck out his thumb in the Bet HaMikdash, they give him lashes. Right? Not even the middle finger. The mamash, like that.
No wonder the union of the middle finger comes from.
So says the Gemara, my monin lo nami. What does it mean also we're going to count it? Achat. It means that we're only going to count it as 1. The my pakia, what does it mean that he gets lashes from the memune? So it says here, Amar Rav says, he says, madra. What's madra? My madra. Amar Papa, matraka tetaye. It's a ritzua of Aravim. It's like a long whip of the Arabs, okay, that they live in the deserts, okay, that they usually is the whip for the horses. The psik resheh, that it's actually like cut at the top. So it says here that it's purposely done like that they cut it into like a whole bunch of small little ones, meaning it's one whip, but at the end of the whip, it's cut into little pieces. So that way, when it actually hits the horse, he feels it more. Because if it's only one whip, he only gets whipped once, meaning he only feels it once. But if it's split at the top, so then every single little piece also hits him. So he feels it more. So this is like a master whip. Okay? So Amr Abaye says, Meresha Vamina, the beginning I would say, Haditana, which we learned to the Mishnah and Shekalim. Ben Bevai Mevuneh ala Pekia. The Ben Bevai, he was in charge of the Pekia. Amina, I would say, Petilta. I thought that Pekia meant wicks. Right? Because Pekia, Pekin, that they used to come and they used to make from the leftovers, not the leftovers, the clothing which was worn out of the Kohanim, whether it's their pants or from their belts. Some of them they used to come and they used to tear it to make tilot wicks, and some of them they used to light with it, the Bet HaMikdash. Kevin the Shaman al-Manada, we just heard this, the Tanya, Amina, what am I going to say? What is the Pekia? Nagda, the Ritzu of the Malkub. Meaning there was somebody specially in charge just for the whip. You understand? Sometimes we joke around, let's take out the whip. Yeah, take out the whip. So that's the way it is. Yeah, it almost reminds me of Erev Kippur when they come and they tell me, Rabbi, take the belt. Yeah, there's only one person here that asked me that though. Take the belt and boom, you give them the lashes. Yeah, Vehu, Rachum, Yechaper, Avon. Yeah, fine. 2 dots. Maaseh shayu shavim v'ratzim ve'olim bakevesh. So it actually happened, right, that there was a story that 2 of them were running and they went up on the ramp. So it says, and then what happened was that one of them pushed his friend and they broke his leg. So Tana Rabbanan, we learned to the right. There was a story of 2 Kohanim that they were equal. They were running up the ramp. So he went into the 4 amot of his friend. He went and he killed him. He stabbed him. Yeah, he stabbed him. The truth is, it's not all the time, because that's why the Gemara brings it down as a one-off, but still, but you see what it was. The competition got so strong that the guy came and he stabbed him in his heart. So Rabbi Tzadok Ma'alot HaUlam, Rabbi Tzadok went into the Ma'alot of the Ulam and he said, brothers of Israel, listen, what are we going to bring on the Eglarufa? On the city or on the Azarot? Gau, everyone started crying. Ba'aviv shel Tinok, the father of this Kohen, came running, and when he saw that he was meparper, that he was basically dying, Amari said, Areu keparatchem, he's going to be, right, a kapara on you guys. Still, get him out of here, basically. That means basically he was trying to tell them, get him out of the Beit HaMikdash, not to contaminate. He's not dead, not to contaminate, not to make it tameh. Lelamdecha, says the Gemara, for them, it was more important, tarat kelim, more than shvichut damim. That means for them, purity was more important than death. Killing, murder, doesn't matter. They can murder, but don't make too much. Yeah, exactly. Ask the Gemara, hey maaseh kadim, which maaseh comes first? Ilema de shvichut damim. If you're going to tell me it's a shvichut damim, hashta shvichut damim lo takinu piasa, anishpera raglo takinu. Which one came first? First of all, remember the 2 stories. First story was he went and one of them pushed the other one and he broke his leg. Second story was one of them he won. The other guy got so upset that he won. He came, he took a knife and he stabbed him to death. Okay, fine. Which one came first? Was it the breaking of the leg or the shvichut damim? Why? Because he says over here, very, very simple. Because he says, if you're going to tell me, right, that they came, and it says, that's what it says here. Are you going to tell me that they didn't come and there was a murder and they didn't do anything, and only after they broke his foot, then they made the lottery? For sure, it had to be that he broke his leg. But since he came and he fixed a lottery, so then what's the 4 amot? Meaning, what happened first? If it was that first it was breaking of the leg, and then they already came and they made a lottery, so what does it mean that he got it within the 4 amot? There's no more 4 amot anymore. There's a lottery. Which one? What does it mean? If you're going to tell me the first was the murder, you're going to tell me on the murder they didn't make any lottery, and then only after the guy broke his leg a second time, meaning the second time around, now they made a lottery. It doesn't make sense. Yeah. But let's see the other way around. Right? The guy broke his leg. They made a lottery. So then what does it mean that the guy came within the 4 amot? They make a lottery. He won. So then how did it come to such a case? Like, what's going on here? So says the Gemara, no. Ela leolam the shvichut damim kadim. Really, be'emet, the shvichut damim came first. Umeikara savur akrai be'almahu. But at the beginning, they thought it was just a one-off. Meaning they saw at the beginning, there was shvichut damim, but it happened one. So they thought, listen, murder doesn't happen all the time. You understand? It doesn't happen. So therefore they thought, okay, it's a one-off, that's it. But then once they saw that it's coming to sakana on anything, right? Because then also the second case of the breaking of the leg, takinu rabanan piasa. Then they made the lottery.
How can they come into this situation?
So Amad Rabbi Tzadok al ma'alot ha'ulam. So comes Rabbi Tzadok on the steps of the ulam and he says, Achenu bet Israel shimu. Yeah, my brothers Israel, listen. It's written that if you're going to find a dead body in the land, but who are we? Meaning there it's talking about that there was a murder. Somebody came and he killed, but we don't know who it is. But here it's right in front of our eyes. It's right in front of us. Al-Milavi, who are we going to bring on Al-Egla Rufa? Who are we going to bring this atonement for? Al-Aid, on the city of Yerushalayim? Or Al-Azarot, or on the Bet HaMikdash? So says the Gemara, and that's when everyone started crying. So says the Gemara, Yerushalayim batatuy Egla Rufai? What, does Yerushalayim Michlal bring it? Vatanya, we learned in a Braita. Asara devarim nemru b'Yerushalayim. There are 10 things said about Jerusalem. And this is one of the 10. Kav Gimel Amud Bet. Ena 23b. Ena mevia egla rufa. You do not bring an egla rufa if you find someone there. Ve'od, and not only that, lo nodam yuka uktiv. You only bring an egla rufa if you don't know who's the murderer. Ve'anodam yuka. But here you know who was the murderer. So what does that mean? First of all, there's a general rule. Now, why is this exactly? It just says, Ki Lerishta comes to teach you that you're going to inherit. So the mitzvah of Egla Rufa is only in the cities which was given to Israel as a Yerusha. Since Yerushalayim was not given to any Shevet because it belonged to all the Shvatim. Again, this is a machlok, but this is what we're going like now. So therefore, since it was given to all the Shvatim, meaning Yerushalayim belongs to all the tribes. So since Yerushalayim was given to all the tribes, it's not given Lerishta as an inheritance. So there's no Egla Rufa. Second question, it's written in Furash, Lo nodam yikau. You only bring an Egla Rufa as an atonement if you don't know who's the murderer. Here you know who the murderer was. Answers the Gemara. Ela kedela arbo bivchiyah. He did it purposely to be tzedok nuda halacha. He knew exactly what he was saying. He did it purposely so that way everyone would start crying. He just wanted to get them moved. He wanted them to feel what's going on. Wake up! That's what he wanted to do. Okay? Then what happened? The father of the child came and he found him when he was mefarper. Amari said, Hareu kaparatchem, this is your kapara. V'adaim b'ni kayam, and my son is still alive. L'lamdecha, which comes to teach you, shekasha alehem tarat kelim, shvichut damim. It was more important for them, the tarat kelim more, the meaning the purity of utensils more than murder. Murder was like nothing, like, big deal. Okay. So says the Gemara, so now they had a doubt, shvichut damim hu dezal, aval tarat kelim kedekaima kaima, or dilma shvichut damim kedekaima kaima, aval tarat kelim hu dechamina. 1 second, what does that mean? Obviously, we saw levels. The level of tarat kelim was stronger than the level of shvichut damim. But does that mean that the level of shvichut damim went so low, which means that it went to such deep depths that they didn't care whatsoever, but tarat kelim was still on the same level? Or maybe it meant, no, shvichut damim was the exact same, but just tarat kelim became so strict that they went all the way up to the sky. That's the Gemara's asking.
They were more mahmir.
Yeah, exactly. They were more mahmir. Meaning, does that mean that that shvichut damim went down, but tarat kelim stayed the same? Or the shvichut damim stayed the same, but just tarat kelim went up? That's the question.
Like they said in America, that the government here don't care about the...
So says the Gemara, Tashma, we're going to now come and bring a proof. Midekanasiv la Talmuda, from the fact that from the Talmud, right? When the Gemara comes and it says, Vegam dam naki shafach Menashe, that Menashe came and he spilled blood. Shma mina shvichat damim udezal. So we learn from here that really no. For them, shvichut damim became worthless, that they didn't care. Go kill, do whatever you want, no problem. The kaima, tarat kelim was at the same level. Just shvichut damim came lower. So Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in a Braita. Ufashat velavash begadim acherim veotzi et hadeshen. So he went and he took off and he put on other clothing and he took out the deshen. Shome'ani kederech Yom Kippurim. So I would have understood that we're talking about, right, on Yom Kippurim. Sheposhet bigde kodesh velovesh bigde chol. That you're going to be poshet bigde kodesh, you're going to take off bigde kodesh, and you're going to put on bigde chol. Okay? So again, one more time. When it says ufashat, that means he's taking off his clothing, and then velavash begadim acherim, he's going to put on other clothing, and then he has to take out the ashes. Shome'ani, everyone could understand, kederech Yom Kippurim, just like Yom Kippur. The Avodah Yom Kippur, the Kohen Gadol is chayav every single time to switch his clothing. He switches. Bigdei zahav, bigdei lavan, bigdei zahav, bigdei lavan. Remember, bigdei lavan are the white clothing. Bigdei zahav are the golden clothing. The golden clothing were the ones which are used on the outside. The white clothing were the ones which are used on the inside. Sheposeh bigdei kodesh ulovesh bigdei chol. He's going to take off bigdei kodesh, right? The holy clothing. He's going to put on bigdei chol. Talmud Lomar comes to teach you. Ufashat begadav levash begadim acherim. Makish begadim shelovesh lebegadim sheposhet. It's a kesh, juxtaposition, proximity between the second clothing and the first clothing. Male halam bigdei kodesh. So too, just like over there, it's bigdei. So too, it's talking about bigdei kodesh. Meaning, we're not talking about bigdei chol, which are weekday mundane clothing. They were always bigdei kodesh, but it just depends which ones. So if so, so what does it mean acherim then? Acherim means other clothing. What do you mean other? They were always holy. This is holy and that's holy. So says the Gemara, no, pechutim mehem. They're bigdei kodesh, which she's putting on during the deshin, which are cheaper, right? Because it wasn't as precious. Okay. So Rabbi Eliezer says, acherim veotzi. What does it mean acherim veotzi? Right? Begadim acherim veotzi et adeshin. Limed ala kohanim baalei mumim shekshim. Do you know we learn from here that a kohen, which is a baal mum, is kosher to take out the deshin? Because the fact that it says v'lavash begadim acherim veotzi, Rabbi Eliezer is saying is acherim is not on the clothing, it's on the kohen. Meaning acherim veotzi, acherim, kohanim acherim could come and take out the deshin. So even a kohen that he's got a blemish, he's allowed to take out the trumat deshin, right? The deshin. So Amar More says acherim means pechutim mehem. No, that's what we said. We said like a lower and inferior type of clothing. The Tana of Mishmael, just like we learned on Mishmael, and the Karim Mishmael, the Tana Mishmael, begadim shebisheh b'hem kedera lerabo lo imzo ben kos rabo. He says if you came now and you were working in the kitchen, and when you were in the kitchen, you come and you were preparing everything and so on and so forth, you're not going to come afterwards and serve him as a waiter because it's not kavod. You know, you were just in the kitchen, you were, you know, you got dirty, you got this, now you're going to come and you're going to serve the king, you know, wine. It's not kavod. So because of that. So the Trumat Deshin, since it was taking out the ashes, you're not going to take out the ashes with that, and then 2 minutes later, you're going to do something else. You understand? So Amar Shakish says Shakish, just like the machloke between Tanakam and Rabbi Eliezer, to do with Hotzaat Deshin is the same thing to do with the Trumat Deshin. There's Hotzaat Deshin and then the Trumat Deshin. So according to that, Rabbi Eliezer was machshid the Kolei Baalei Mumim not only for Hotzaat Deshin but also Trumat Deshin. Rabbi Yochanan says machloke b'Hotzaa, but in the Harama, according to everybody, it's an avodah. Meaning it's like this: Hotzaa is I'm taking the leftover dashes out. Harama, right, is I'm bringing them in. So to bring them in, according to the second opinion now, right, Rabbi Yochanan says, is divrei kol, it's an avodah. It's an avodah. But according to the Shakish, it's the same thing. I mean, according to the Shakish, the taking out of the dash and bringing into the dashes is the exact same halacha. So therefore, it's either you permit kohanim baalei mumim or you prohibit kohanim baalei mumim. But according to Rabbi Yochanan, no, the machloket is only by hotzah. But by harama, by trumat deshen, according to everybody, it's considered avodah. Okay, my tama de Shakish. What's the reasoning of Resh Shakish? Amar lecha, he's going to tell you, Isal kadaita, if you're going to tell me it's avodahi, yesh lecha avodah shekshera b'shnei kelim. There's no such thing as an avodah which is kosher in 2 different clothing. Which means here, we know that there's 8 clothing for a Kohen Gadol and 4 clothing for a Kohen Idiot. Here, there's only 2 clothing. Because the Kohen only has to put on the right. There's 4 clothing. But to do the Trumat Deshin, it's only written, right? Midovad michnesevad, which means that all you need is 2 clothing. Okay, so it comes out, if you're going to tell me that it's an avodah, how's it only enough to have 2 out of the 4 clothing? Because it says michlesed michlasayim you need, and it says midovad, which is a ketonet. So the first 2 out of the 4, you don't need the hat and you don't need the belt. All you need is the checkered shirt and the pants. So according to you, if it's an avodah, where did you ever see such a thing that an avodah is kosher with 2 out of the 4 clothing? So according to Rabbi Yochanan, gali rachmana beketonet umichlasayim v'uadin. No, the Torah only mentioned the ketonet and michlasayim. The same halacha would apply to the hat and the belt that you also need. Of course, according to Rabbi Yochanan, you need the 4 clothing. So says the Gemara, umay shnani. So why did the Torah mention these 2 then? If 2 equals 4, just mention the 4, don't mention anything. And we know that it means the 4 clothing. So says the Gemara, midovad mido kemidato, which means the kitonet of the kohen has to be his size. It cannot be arrastrando. How do you say? It can't be like
Dragging it.
dragging. Thank you. Dragging on the floor. It cannot be dragging on the floor. Okay, that's what it means. Mido vad. It's not talking about the checkered shirt. It's talking about the mido has to be midato. It has to be his midah. Michnese bad. What about the michnese bad? As we learned in the Braita. How do we know that the first thing that he puts on is a michnasayim? That means out of the 4 clothing, the first thing that he puts on is the pants. The first thing he has to put on is michnese bad al besaro. Besaro means his flesh. Meaning he doesn't have anything on. Yeah. But he puts on the michnese bad first. So the first thing that you put on is the pants, right? And by the way, that's also musar and derech eretz. Person goes, whether it's to the mikveh or to whatever it is, the first thing that he does is, right, obviously the kippah, as it's brought down actually, that the kippah is first because it's the rosh, you have to put on the thing of the rosh first, right, because the rosh is the king of all the evarim. But after that, you put on the michnasayim.
That means they didn't have underwear.
Which one? Veresh Shakish, and according to Resh Shakish, mido kemidato. How do you know mido kemidato? The fact that the Torah used the terminology mido, that's how you know that it has to be midato. They learn it from al besaro, right? Which is at the end, which are extra, right? Not because of michnase bad, but rather al besaro. So because of that, that's why Resh Shakish says, no, I'm still learning the same thing, but it comes from this. Okay? So says the Gemara, so why don't we just say, why don't we just say that this machloket is actually a machloket, not a moraim, right? Between Tanaim. Meaning it's not only just Resh Shakish and Rabbi Yochanan. Why? Al besaro matal mulumar ilbash. What does it come to teach you? Ilbash lavi mitznef avnet larama. That you need the mitznef avnet, the hat and the belt for doing haramat hadeshen. These are the words of Rabbi Yehuda, right? Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Dosa Omer lerabot bigdei kohen gadol. It's coming to include the clothing of the kohen gadol on Kippur. Shiksherin le kohen ediot, that it's going to be kosher there for even a kohen ediot for trumat hadeshen and everything else throughout the entire year. So Amar Rebbe says shte tshuva b'tvar. No, I can actually tell you 2 different ta'anot against this. Chada, the avneto shel kohen gadol, he says it's not the same avnet. It's not the same belt. The avnet here, it's not the same belt whatsoever. Ve'od, and furthermore, begadim shenishtamesh b'hem kidusha chamura, are you going to tell me that the kohen now, kohen gadol, just use it for avodah chamura, and now you're going to use it for kidusha kala? How does that make sense? You never go down in kidusha, you only go up. And amata mulomar yilbash, but rather, what are we going to mean when it says yilbash? Lerabot et shechakim, to include shechakim. Shechakim means if it's worn out, that they're going to be ksherim to do the avodat kohanim. Okay, so fine. This is Bezat Hashem. We continue tomorrow. Bezat Hashem.